Good morning, class. My name is Ryan Bellinger, a member of Team 1, the Crusaders. We're just going to go around the room real quick and introduce ourselves.
Sean Nefakari.
Tony Faust.
Antonio Snishta.
Angelina Gutierrez.
This is our presentation for a post-COVID-19 pandemic project. The business that we chose to do is called the Crusaders Lounge. It was established March 15th, 2018, and our motto was to create a relaxing atmosphere for Michiganders to socialize and enjoy the finest coffee from around the world. When we first opened, our staff included myself and the 4 other key stakeholders. Our building size was 3,000 square feet, and we paid $2,500 a month in rent. Our business method was old-fashioned. We did not utilize social media, digital advertising, and we did not have a website which could accept online orders. The beginning of the pandemic started December of 2019. The first restaurant shutdown mandates began March of 2020. And this resulted in the closure of our original location in October of 2021. We reopened June 2022. Our new building size was 450 square feet from the original 3,000 square feet. And our mortgage was $1,250 a month for 15 years. We were able to downsize our staff to 3, and we updated our business method by allowing us to get more modern, taking online orders, and streamlining the business. This slide shows the new building layout. Instead of having an atmosphere where customers could come inside, relax, play board games, and socialize, we decided to include a walk-up bar where those customers could still walk up, order coffee, socialize, but they could do so outside. The smaller building allowed us to cut our staff size and cut costs. We did not need to clean as much. We did not need staff members to wipe down tables or clean bathrooms for the customers. And this allowed us to stay in business during the rest of the pandemic, not knowing when the next shutdown would occur. Next, Sean will talk.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Again, my name is Sean Nefakari. We'll jump into this real quick as how we developed our process to combat the pandemic. Group or team. A lot of people think those terms are interchangeable, but we know from our teachings, our lessons, that they are not. There are 3 distinct characteristics that define whether you are forming a group or a team. Those are dependence, accountability, and time. As you see on the top, for dependence, in a group you have independent, which means everybody's pretty much out for themselves. No action that I do independent affects anyone else. It is also individual in accountability because you're only accountable for your actions, and the time period is unspecified. Whereas for a team, it's interdependent with regards to dependency because what I do requires input from another team member. The accountability is shared across all team members, and there's a specific amount of time. Next slide. The team type. We also know that as it pertains to teams, there are different types of teams. Our team itself was a work team. The other types of teams are project, cross-functional, self-managed, or virtual. The reason we were a work team and not another type of team was the length of the project, because it was going to be, as we thought, permanent due to the fact that the epidemic was a very fluid situation, changing from day to day. And we had to be ready to make decisions rapidly to facilitate good business practice. Next slide. Right here is why we formed. This is a graph of punctuated Equilibrium, as you can see to the far left, our normal way of doing business, our norm, was disrupted by an abrupt change, that abrupt change being the pandemic, which caused the incline of the green line. So all of our actions were to get back to equilibrium, which would be the new norm. Next slide. As I said in my first slide, we were a team because dependence on one another for decision-making and information was key to make sure we could achieve our goal of keeping the business open and to keep the business thriving during this pandemic. Next slide, please. So what were our norms during that period? Like Ryan said in the beginning, we started with a 3,000 square foot building. We reduced that size to a 450 square foot location. So we were able to increase our capital by reducing our overhead, going from $2,500 a month in rent to $1,250. This allowed us to make sure we had capital to pay the employees. And one big thing was to maintain health insurance during the pandemic. The next thing was the team composition. We originally started with 5 members, but we reduced down to 3. There were 2 reasons for that. One was there was a certain amount of social loafing between a couple of the team members. The commitment was just not there on their behalf. So we had to reduce the size because it was very important that everyone on the team stayed committed to the goal. So leveraging technology was the next thing. As Ryan said, we did not start out with a formal website or any social media platforms. Those are things that we looked into. We got Facebook pages, Twitter, Instagram. We also got a dedicated website for the lounge itself. That allowed people to check in with us real time to see if we were open, if we were closed, if there were any new measures in place for coming to the lounge, things of that nature. And lastly, safety. Because of COVID protocols, we had to change the way we did business. We minimized the staff and changed up the shift rotations to minimize the number of people that were working at any given time. And that helped us achieve COVID protocols as mandated. Next slide. So forms of trust, it was very important that we had a high level of trust during this process because as I said before, it was a very fluid situation. A lot of people were worried if we were going to be open, if they were going to have a job tomorrow and what have you. And our team met all 3 forms of trust: contractually, communication, and competence. Contractually, expectations and commitments were addressed and taken on. Each team member maintained a high degree of accountability for their assigned tasks and their commitments. Communication was met because the flow of information stayed open. There was never a point in time where someone that needed information didn't have it. It was readily available. And the competence was because of our long time that we have been in business. We have been dealing with each other for a long period of time. We knew each other's strengths, we knew each other's weaknesses, and we were totally confident in the skill level and the abilities of one another. Next slide. And finally, the 3 C's, reflection of a good team are the 3 C's: committed, collaborative, and competent. Our team met all 3 C's. Each member was fully committed to the goal of keeping the lounge open and actually increasing business and still serving the local community. Collaborative, as I said, all thoughts, ideas, and information were rapidly available and shared among all team members. And competent, again, we were all trusting in each other's skill level and level of ability while we were making this transition and going from the norm to what I would like to call a new norm. And with that, I will turn it over to Tony.
Thank you so much. So before, during, and after the pandemic, our management team has paid close attention to key workplace attitudes. Focusing on these attitudes has allowed our management team to ensure we have the best employees working in their positions. There are 4 key workplace attitudes we focus. The first is organizational commitment. How do our employees identify with our organization and commitment to our goals? This is driven by personality, the meaningfulness of work, organizational climate, leader behavior, and organizational culture. The next is employee engagement. We provide ongoing training that empowers our employees to give it their all, ensuring they can make sensitive decisions as needed in order to achieve the best and speedy service. The next is perceived organizational support. How employees feel the organization values their contributions and generally cares about their well-being. This was a major force in our remodeling. Not all employees were comfortable returning to their positions, even at the ease of the pandemic. Lastly is job satisfaction. There are 5 models of job satisfaction, and we focused on these 5 by asking questions. The first is need fulfillment. Are we understanding and meeting employee needs? The next is meet expectations. Are we meeting employee expectations about what they will receive from the job? Next is value attainment. Are jobs and rewards structured to match their values? Equity is next. Do our employees believe they have a comfortable perception of fairness? And lastly, dispositional genetic components. Does our staff have personality traits and genetic factors which allow them to feel satisfied with their work? Not all positions are the best for each person. Additionally, we are focusing on fostering mindfulness. This involves being fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not being overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. There are 2 worlds we focus on. The first is our inner world, our feelings, our thoughts. Secondly is outer world, our feelings, other people's feelings, thoughts, and interactions. All Crusader Lounge employees will be participating in annual mindfulness interventions. This will allow each employee to gain important and effective strategies to ensure they are encompassing being mindful in their work. Since making mindfulness a key focus, we have seen an increase in job performance, organizational citizen behaviors, and safety behaviors. Some other benefits we have seen are reduced stress, improved memory, better focus, and self-awareness. Angelina, take it away.
All right, so personality is really important, finding the right personality fit when recruiting and getting people to work at the Crusaders Lounge. So especially in the future, once we grow, we have to find the right employees that fit our company's values. And some personality traits that are important is self-efficiency. Self-efficiency is a person's belief about his or her chances of successfully accomplishing a specific task. But luckily, self-efficiency can be taught with guidance and social support. So if we can find the right people that are open to being taught, then we can teach them that quality. Another trait would be emotional stability. People with high levels of emotional stability perform better and have better behaviors at work. And then another one would be emotional intelligence, and 4 levels, or the 4 aspects that are included in those would be self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. So all those are important in building a powerful team and a team that can all reach the same goals and have the same mindset while working. All right, next slide. So locus of control, COVID was unexpected. That would be an external control. So it's out of our control, but what we do about it is internal. So we can find the right solutions of what we can physically do ourselves. And with the right work motivation, we can set goals for each other, which would increase better performance and better job satisfaction. And like Tony was saying, with employee engagement, it's super important. and it creates better job performance, which will help the customers to be more satisfied if they have the right team helping them. So, and then for the external control, the economy would be an example, pandemic, and like government mandates. So, yeah.
So after the pandemic took place and we were forced to shut down our lounge, we had to use decision making to see where we're going from there. Decision making is defined as identifying and choosing from alternate solutions that lead to desired state of affairs. As you can see, stage one of decision making is to identify the problem or opportunity. Stage two of the decision making is to generate alternative solutions. Stage three is to evaluate alternatives and select a solution. And stage four of the decision making process is to implement and evaluate the solution chosen. Next slide. Stage one, the problem we identified was the COVID-19 pandemic taking place and affecting our business, forcing us to shut down. We then had to get creative and think of new guidelines and procedures to run our business. Stage two, one of our alternatives, as we mentioned, was to get social media and make our presence known to the public. It informed our customers about our new times, regulations, and our products that are still being made and served to the public. Stage three, we did this by acknowledging the new guidelines, will remove the causes and solve the problems we were facing. And stage four, after seeing the results from what we implemented, we can conclude that our business thrived and took off after much trial and error. And overall, after all the problems and decisions we had to go through, we did our best. We used our intuition and did it as a team. We got through it. And it was one of the toughest times in not only the business world, but the real world as well. And next slide. And here are some advantages: greater pool of knowledge, such as working with a group. Everyone has their own thoughts, own opinions, own game plans. This gives us more options and different paths we can take to come up with a solution. And different approaches to a problem. People coming from different backgrounds have their own approach to solving problems, which can show like the group another path we can take instead of just working individually. Another advantage is greater commitment to a decision. Having more than one person agree on a solution makes it easier to stick to it and not be decisive. And some of the disadvantages is social pressure. Maybe a group member would hold back from sharing their ideas because they feel like their idea isn't good enough. Another disadvantage is a few dominant participants. This can cause argument among the group members if one or more participants are too dominant, aggressive, and think their ideas are more superior than one another. And goal displacement. This can happen when the group members don't agree on the same goal. And that should be it.